Hello guys, today we are going to see microservice architecture with yet another reverse proxy. So we can simply call it as YARP. So what is YARP? YARP is a API gateway. Then what is microservice architecture? So let's first see what is microservice architecture. So before that, we will take a small comparison between monolithic architecture and microservice architecture. So in monolithic architecture, if you see, we will have the user interface, business layer and data layer. Then why we are going to microservice architecture? Monolithic architecture is really good for small scale applications. So when your applications start to develop in a large scale, if there is a lot of changes comes in, it will be problematic with monolithic architecture. So how we will resolve these issues with microservice architecture? So what we will do in microservice architecture, the business layer in monolithic architecture, you can see now that business layer has been split into a small modules, different modules. So that if each different modules is considered as each microservices. So each microservice have their own single responsibility. So if any one of microservices fails, it does not affect the entire application. So if you take a look at monolithic architecture, if any one of things fails in business layer, the entire application will be down. So this issue can be resolved with microservice architecture. And also consider, for example, you have a three different teams. Three different teams are working on each microservices. If any one of team making changes in any one of microservices, it will not affect other rest two microservices under their teams. So there are a lot of advantage when we are working with microservice architecture, and it will be mostly suggested to use in a large scale application. So next, let's see why we need the API gateway. So at the initial I mentioned YARP. So why we need the API gateway first? We will see. Basically, what will happen? Our client application will directly communicate with our microservices. So what will happen? What is issues in that? So let's see. We will have a three microservices here. This three microservices has been communicated by our client application. So we have to client has to make changes if any changes happen in the one of microservices. Let's see if you have another microservice as a fourth microservices, then in a client app also you have to make changes to consume that microservices. To avoid this issue only, we are using the API gateway. So what is the API gateway pattern? What pattern we are going to use? In API gateway patterns, there are a lot of plenty of patterns available. For example, you have a Ocelot, we have a YARP, and we have a Azure API management. There are plenty of options available. So today we are going to only see what is YARP, how it will work. So when we are using API gateway services, our client application will first communicate with our API gateway. Then the API gateway will redirect the request to the respective microservices. By using the API gateway, we are not directly exposing any of our microservices to the client application. If any changes happen in our microservices also, it will not affect our client application. The changes will be everything done in the API gateway level itself. And also we can provide a lot of securities and functionalities in a API gateway. I think it's enough for theory part. Now we will start to create a project. If you are new to our channel, please hit the subscribe button. Okay, let's open the Visual Studio community. Once you open, let's search for the blank solution. Okay, so click on the blank solution and provide the solution name. So what we are going to create, what kind of application we are going to create now? We are going to create some online shopping kind of application. We will have two microservices. The two microservices, one microservices hold the responsibility to hold the details of the mobile products, and another microservices has the responsibility to hold the details of the laptops. So let's be create. Not too much complicated. We will create some basic applications, basic APIs first. So provide the solution name here as a microservice online shopping. Let's create the project. So our solution is created, blank solution. We will create a new folder now. So one is for our services, and we will create another folder for our gateway. So first of all, we will create our microservices. First, we will create the microservices for the mobile products. We have to hold now. So just add and give the new project. Search for API. Can select the ASP.NET Core Web API. We will give the name as a online shopping dot mobile. Just a simple name. Okay. We will take a deep look when we start to work on it. So we are using the .NET 6 framework. So we're not using any authentication type for now. We will just enable that open API support. Great. Our first microservice project has been created. So by default, we will have some class files. We can see here some weather forecast. We don't need that. We can delete that also. And we will delete the controller of that also. So first of all, I'm going to install few packages that we are need to work with this microservices. So just right click on your project and click on manage NuGet package. So what are the package we required for our project for now? We need the entity framework core. So the entity framework core is to perform the database operations. We will install the entity framework core first. Then search for entity framework core tools. Then finally we need the SQL server. So we are going to use the SQL server only to store our data. So we need that SQL server. That is one. First one, entity framework core dot SQL server. Okay, I think we are good to go with our project. So first of all, let's we create the models file. We will create a folder called models. First we create our model. We can name it as a mobile itself. So what this class will hold? Will hold the property of ID. Then we will create a product name. So we will provide some data annotations here. It's like a primary key. I think it's enough for now. Let's create our application DB context. Create a new folder. The name is a DB context. So here we'll go create a new class file. It is a application DB context. So now inherit from the DB context. Okay. So we will create our constructor. Here, DB context options. Application DB context options of base options. So this was a very basic setup. If you are already working with entity framework course, this is a very basic setup to communicate with our database. So we will make few changes in our program.cs. Before that, we have to make changes in our app settings. In app settings, we have to provide our connection string. One connection server. So I will use the SQL server. So my server name. Just kindly check for your server name. What server name you provided in your system, you have to use that server name. So let's reconnect here first. So in my database, let's see what are the tables we have. Some plenty of tables here. Let's forget about this. Okay. We'll just provide the server name here. Okay. Then we have to provide the database name. What is our database name for this microservices? So we will give it as a online shopping for mobile. We will give a trusted connection. Okay, I think we are good here with connection string. Let's make changes in the program.cs file now. So in a program.cs file, so we can add that after our controller. So we will give builder dot services dot add db context. So be available because we installed the entity framework code package. So next we have to give our application db context. Okay. So next we have to give the options. Options dot use is given server. So in SQL Server, we have to give our connection strings. We will give builder dot configuration dot get connection strings. Write this down. I think it's visible now. Get connection strings. So here we will give the default connections. Let me confirm. We are give the default connections or connection. Default connection will give. What are the issues? But we have to close it. I think we are good with this. Let's do our migration first. So if we go here, so not here, we go to here tools and go for the Nugget package manager console. So here you have to select the project as a mobile, online shopping.mobile. So give a migration. Let's give a initial migration. Oops, I done a small mistake. It will not work. You see now, it will blank. So let's remove this migration. So first of all, what we have to do now, we have to add that thing. So in our DB context, we have to add that public DB set, for our while case. The reason why it's because we have the same name. Let's see the class name while products because of namespace. Choose here it will work now. Yeah, while products. Okay, let's we do the migration again now. So it will create our migration files. So create the table in the name of mobiles. We will have the two properties, ID and product name. Let's update our database. Yeah, it's updated. So we refresh our database now. We will have a online shopping mobile. Let's see tables. View it. So here we have a ID and product. We have two properties. So let's we create a controller thing. Just right click on the controller folder, add a controller, more empty controller. We'll give it a name as a mobile product. So, okay, the controller has been created. I made a small mistake here. Actually, I created the MVC controller. Actually, we need an API controller. Just tell it this one. We will create a new one. Again, right click on the controller, add controller, MVC empty. We have to provide as a API empty controller. So we will provide the name as a mobile product controller. Click add. So now we have the API controller. First thing we have to do now, first thing we have to give our application DB context here. So we create a let's go to then we create our constructor. Okay. First of all, what we will do, we will create a product. We will create a API for the create operation. Let's create for the create operation. Give HTTP post. Name as a public action result. So what we are going to pass that mobile object itself. Mobile product as a mobile product. So first we will check whether mobile product is valid or not. We will check model state is valid. If it is valid, so model state is valid. We will create a underscore tb dot product. Sorry, we will use mobile dot add our mobile product underscore tb dot save changes. Okay, so then we will do that. Okay, we draw it on our object itself. Otherwise, we will return add request. So let's run this one. We will check. It's a very simple API just for our microservices to work on the YARP. So let's create a product. We'll give an ID so one. We'll give it as a zoning. Execute it. This is where save changes. Yeah, I shouldn't keep the value for the time. We will keep trying. Keep it as a 0. Execute it. So 200. Okay. Let's check the record is added. Now here you can see our record is added. So we will add another product. We'll add apple 200. Okay, we'll add another product. We can add Samsung. Yeah, for now our post method is working fine. So we will have a get method. HTTP get public. over here we will have a enumerable of mobile product equal to underscore db dot mobile dot total. So here we will return okay. Let's we create a one more API. Is HTTP gate about actual result two tags. So we have to pass a ID here. So first of all, we have to find the product. So we will use a find or we can use a first default. So for now, we will use a find itself. Before that, we have to check if ID is null or 0. We will return not found. If we fetch the product, we have to return. Okay. The product. Now we are good to go. So here we will add the property ID of the int. So next we will create two more functions for update and delete or perform calculations. So here you can see I have a create a function for update and delete. It was pretty simple. We will update our records with the entire object. We will delete the product based on the ID. So let's test our APIs first whether it's working fine or not. So previously we checked our post method is working. So let's try with get method. So we added three products. You get it? Let's try that update method. Let's try any one of that. So we will try to update the first product. I think it's Sony. Give it the name as a Sony update. Execute. Yeah, it's updated. We have another API to get the product by ID. So we will check whether it's updated or not. We have a Sony update. We have a delete. So for delete operation, we will create a one dummy record to check. So we will create as a test. Was created with the ID 5. Let's try with the ID 5. Execute. It's 200. Record has been deleted. So check our get method again. So we are good to go. So all our APIs are working. So it's very basic thing. So we will create another microservice, kind of same similar thing, just to hold the records of laptop devices. Okay. Search for API online shopping laptop. Everything is same. .NET 6, no authentication. Enable open API support. Then create it. So now we have another microservices. So here also we have to install the few basic packages first. So just like it, install. Let's install the entity framework code first. And we will install entity framework code. And we will install our SQL server. Entity framework code SQL server. Let's see what are the packages we installed. So we installed entity framework core, SQL server, and entity framework code.tools. This swashbuckle is by default we create selected that open API support, enable open API support. The default package which comes with when you create a project. So what we are going to do now, we are going to create a similar like mobile. We have to create a model here. Let's give it as a laptop product. So everything is pretty much simple. We will just copy paste it. So we can save some time. And again, we have to create a DB context here. Okay. Application DB context. So it also seems similar. So we will just copy paste the code. It will save some time. So instead of mobile product, we will have now laptop products. So it is laptops. So here also we have to make changes in app settings in our laptop microservices. Let's copy from that also. Now open the laptop microservice. In the app settings, we will do the changes. So we have to make changes in program.cs also. So copy that from the mobile microservices, the same database configuration. Just copy it and paste here. I think everything is pretty much good. And then we have to add a controller. So first we delete that weather forecast by default it comes in. We'll delete that. We will add a controller, empty controller, API empty controller. We will give it as a laptop product controller. So this is also much similar to that our mobile microservices controller. We can copy and paste that also. So once we paste now, we will face a few errors. So first of is application DB context. Just press Control dot and you always do the using statement. Don't refer to the another microservices. In real world, this each project will be in a separate project file, so it will not comes under the single solution. So always don't give the reference, so use the DB context of the respective microservices. Okay, we have to change the name, uh, laptop product controller. We have to change the mobile product to laptop. We can simply do that by find and replace, so it will be easy to do. Just press shift control H in your keyboard, so it will open up. So there you can provide laptop product. Okay, so in the current document, change the replace the mobile product into laptop product. So just give a replace or so here it was changed. So we have to change that name also. Variable names. It will in a small. Give it as a laptop. Replace it. Just give a control dot here. Pretty much we fixed all errors. Only we have the error for the mobiles. It's not a mobile. What was it the name? So we give it here. Let's open the typical test. So we give it as a laptops. We have to change that as a laptops instead of mobile and replace it. Yeah, I think we are good to go. So first we have to add the migration. Before that, in app settings, you can see it's in the name of online shopping mobile. Change that to laptop, whatever the name you want, just for the testing purpose. Okay, just right click the project and just right click on that laptop microservices and set as a startup project for now. Okay, then go to the tools, go to the Nugget package manager console. So here now we have to select the laptop, then provide the add migration first. Oops, this is a build failed. Let's see what is the issue. Let's build this project first so we can identify if there is any error. Namespace. Yeah, see, we didn't give the namespace here. We are good to go. Now we can run the migration. So select that laptop microservice and run the migration. So our migration script file has been created to update database. So database is also updated. Let's recheck. Now we have another database for mobile shopping and see the tables. So yeah, it's mobile. Sorry, I have to open the laptop tables. Laptop. So we here have the ID and product. So let's try to add some records to the database. Let's execute it. Accept and continue. Let's add a product called HD and add a let's see. Let's add it. Add one more product. Lenovo. Add it. Let's see. Yeah, pretty much simple for our microservice to test the API gateways. So basically, if you see now, this laptop microservices running on the port number of localhost 7011. Let's we see, just right click on the solution, go to the properties. So here you will see startup multiple projects. Select that and give it as a start. So we will start the two projects at the same time. Two microservices. One is for laptop, another one is for mobile. So the laptop microservices will hold the details of the laptop and mobile microservices will hold the details of mobile product. Let's run it. So here you can see our mobile microservice is running on the port of 7073 and our laptop microservice is running on the 7011. So all our APIs are working fine. We tested out. So now we start to implement the API gateway. How we are going to consume these APIs via API gateway. Close this. Now right click on the gateway folder. Go to the add project, new project. So here you have to create a ASP.NET Core empty project. So search for ASP.NET empty. So here you have to create the ASP.NET Core empty project. So give it as a name as a online shopping dot yarp. So we will do the framework of .NET 6 created. So a project has been created for our gateway. So first of all, we have to install that YARP package. So right click on your online shopping.yarp, the project we created in a gateway. Go to the Nugget package manager and search for YARP. So here you can see yarp.reverse proxy version 1.1.1. Install it. I think we are good to go. We need this only single package for now. Once we install the package, we have to make few changes in our program.cs. We have to configure that. So before app.get, so we have to give a variable of, give a name as a proxy builder. So give a builder dot services dot, we'll add a reverse proxy. So here you can see reverse proxy. Just add that. Okay. Then we have to load that configuration of the reverse proxy. We are going to do that configuration part in our app settings.json. To provide that, we will provide few configuration here. I will let you know how to implement that. So first of all, we have to give the proxy builder load from config. Okay. In load from config, you have to provide a builder.configuration.get section, and the section name is reverse proxy. The section name is customizable. Whatever the name you want, you can give the name as a reverse proxy. But you should careful, you are going to use the same name in the app settings.json also. Whatever the name you are using in app settings.json should be the same as here when you are configuring it. Then you have to add it to the pipeline. In the pipeline, you have to add before the map get. We have to add app dot map reverse proxy. So now in app settings, you have to create a reverse proxy here. So whatever the name you provided here, this name should be same as here, the reverse proxy. So reverse proxy, we will have the two things. One is route, another one is clusters. So first we will give routes. So yeah, this routes. Then the second one is clusters. So what is routes? What is clusters? Let's be back to our architecture diagram. As we mentioned, when we use a API gateway, whatever the request from the client, which has been redirected to respective microservices. So the routes is the request comes from the front end UI, the route format. So that is called routes. What is clusters? Clusters means the request which comes from the UI for which microservice is responsible to handle that request to process it. So we are going to make that configuration in a cluster. So first we will do the cluster here. Cluster, we will provide the cluster name first. We will provide for first mobile microservices. We will give us a mobile cluster. In clusters, we will have a destinations. So we will give us a destinations. Destinations, you have to remember one thing, we can provide a multiple destinations for our mobile cluster. For example, our mobile application in a deployed in a multiple instance, you can provide the multiple destinations here. For now, we are using only a single instance, so we don't need a multiple destinations for now. So we will provide the custom name for that also. We'll provide the mobile destination one, that we have to provide as a address. So what address here you have to give now? So we have to give that address of the port where mobile microservice is running. So let's we run and we will check where it's running. So our mobile shopping cart is running on 7073. So just copy the link and we'll paste it here. Okay. And also we need same similar thing for laptop also. Laptop is running on 7011. Just copy this also. We will use it. For now, paste it here. For example, if you have another test instance where your mobile microservice is running, you can provide here as a mobile destination too, and you can provide the respective address of the second instance. What this for multiple destination, why we require? When we are using load balancing, you will require the multiple destination during the time. For example, if the first address is processing a 10 request, if the 11th request comes in, what will do? Automatically, it will be redirect that request to the second destination address. So we will see that when we are go deep in load balancing concepts. So for now, we don't use load balancing for now. So we will remove the second destination. We don't need that now. Then second thing, we have to create another cluster, which is for our laptop microservices. So we will give a laptop cluster. And also here also we will have the destinations. So here we have to provide the destinations. We have to provide the laptop destination one. We have to provide the address. So in this address we will paste that address which copied up for the laptop microservices. Here you can see now laptop destination one, mobile destination one. This name is totally customizable. Whatever the name you want, you can provide here. And the next thing we have to configure our routes. So in a route, we will first have the routes for our mobile microservices. So we will give us some mobile method one route name. So you can give whatever the name you want for the route. So for example, now I'm giving as a mobile method one. So let's give that. So this mobile method one routes which belongs to which cluster? We have to provide the cluster ID first. So this is belongs to the mobile cluster. So we have to give the cluster ID first. This cluster ID that belongs to mobile cluster. Then we have to provide the match. In a match, we have to provide the path. So the path is the URL format. So what is the URL format for our APIs? You can check. It's in the format of first we are going for a mobile, right? So we will see API slash mobile. Just copy this. We will paste it here. Okay, what will happen? Based on this path, it will access the APIs. Okay, it will access the API for post method, get method, and put method. It will be same for all these three APIs. And we have another one for get by id and get by delete. To process that also, what we have to do now, just give it a slash, then in curly braces double star catch all, catch hyphen all. So what it will do, after the slash, whatever the parameter comes in, it will take to process it. Once we execute it, what this catch all will do, after whatever this slash comes in, whatever the parameters we are giving, it will take in. So we will see how it will work when we are testing it out. Okay. Now we test for that mobile microservices with our API gateway. So in our microservice solutions, just right click, go to the properties, and also select that shopping yard, our gateway project also enable it as to start. So let's run this application. So we have some issue here. Let's see what is the issue we have. We are not able to modify the service connections. Yeah, the issue is we are building this before executing it. I think build should be here. So let's run our application now. So now if you see, all our microservice APIs are running up and running. You can see our laptop microservices and mobile microservices and our gateway. So our API gateway is running on the port 7106. So now we will test this. Let's open our Postman. So let's create a new collections, create a new request. So first we will go for the get method. So this is the address of our API gateway running. If you see, our API gateway is running on 7106. Via this port, we are going to access our mobile mobile products microservices. So you can see we are going to fetch the record of this microservice via our gateway. So we configured that in our app setting JSON with whatever the path comes in API slash mobile product cache will be redirected to the respective microservices. So we will see that in now. We can give it as a get method API slash mobile product. So let's execute it. See, we are getting the records. So we are getting the our products of a mobile product. So we will get the Sony, Apple, Samsung. We are accessing our microservices via API gateway now. So let's be test for that our laptop also. Let's stop this one. Let's give a, let's copy the same thing, be similar only. So here it goes for the laptop. Laptop, and we will provide that cluster name. Cluster name is a laptop cluster. We have to provide that cluster ID. Cluster ID here is a laptop cluster ID, which will be the laptop product. Let's run our application again. It's up and running now. All our APIs are running now. So now we will do with our Postman, instead of mobile product, we will give us a laptop. See, we are accessing our laptop microservices also via our API gateway itself. Our API gateway port is 1706. So we are accessing that both microservices via our API gateway. For example, if you want to use post method, just go to the post and go to the body and provide a raw JSON format. Give it as a in what format we are giving. We are giving for laptop, right? Copy this and paste it here with as a test. So let's execute it. You can see the status code is 200. Okay, the record has been added. So ID is 4, product name is a test. We added the product for the laptop. So we added that record also via our API gateway to our microservices. So if you check our database, so in laptop, just refresh it. You can see our test record has been added to the database. So let's we try to update this one. We will give put and we will give it as a ID of 4, right? Yeah, ID 4. Give it as a test update. Let's send it. You can see the record has been updated. Our update method also working fine. Let's check in our database. See, test update. Let's try the delete also. Let's give it as a delete, and we have to provide just a ID here, just /4. We'll execute it. You can see 200. Okay, we'll check the database. Oops. We'll do it again. You can see the record has been deleted. So we are accessing all our microservices API via our API gateway itself. So if this video is useful for you guys, just let me know. If you have any doubts and queries, just provide that in the comment section. I will definitely give a response. Next thing what we are going to do now, we are going to create another controller in our mobile microservices. So in a controller, let's create another, keep it as empty. Just give the name as alive alive controller. So I will tell you the reason why I'm naming like this. Let's give it as a empty controller. Just add it. So it's going to have a not too much. We will only have a single method for the get method. We'll give it as a HTTP get. This public get. So here what we are going to do now. So we will do one thing. We will have a for status is equal to alive. We will return okay status. Even the thing we will just simply printing the statement string as alive. So let's run this and we'll see it's working or not. I will let you know why, what is the reason why I'm creating like this kind of some simple and dummy API. It's in our mobile, right? Mobile, just give it a execute. So it's alive. So in YARP, we have a functionality to check whether our microservices is active or not. To make that configuration, we have to do few changes in our cluster level. So in our cluster level, if you check, we have two clusters. One is for mobile and another one is for our laptop clusters. So we will give the health check for our mobile cluster now. So in mobile cluster, we have to give a property called health check. So in the health check, we have to provide few configurations. So let's we see what are the configurations we have to do. First thing is enabled, whether it's enabled or not. So we will give it as a true for now. Then second thing is we have to give the interval for how many time of interval it should check the microservice is active or not, kind of thing. So we will give it as interval. So for now we will give it as a 10 seconds. Every 10 seconds it have to check whether that microservice is active or not. It's a healthy or a unhealthy. If it is unhealthy, that means the microservice is down. So let's give the timeout. We will give the timeout also 10 seconds. So let's give the policy. Here the format is, I will make the changes. Policy we have to give as a consecutive failure. Failures. So then we have to give the path. The path means which API it going to hit to check whether that microservice is active or not. We can use any of our APIs. For example, in our mobile microservice, we have the mobile product. We can use that also, but that is not an efficient way. We are providing our API records data to check whether the API is active or not. For that purpose only, we will created the dummy API like a health check. So we will give that one. We will give this a API slash alive. Okay. So next we have to give that application as a metadata for how many time it make the consecutive check for the health. So we have to give the consecutive failure health policy threshold. It should be a health policy. For threshold, we will give it as a 3 now. So actually, it should become good to go now. So we make this configuration and we have to make few changes in our program.cs. And here was some minor change. Actually, this should come within active. We have to give a active. Within active, we have to do this configuration part. So we done all the changes here to provide the health check. So there is not much changes. There's no changes in program.cs itself. Only we have to make changes in app settings. So previously what I done, I didn't provide this configuration within active. We have to make changes. It should become within active. It's like a key pair value, right? So let's execute our code, run it and test. If you open your console, so here you can see our YARP proxy is started to make the health check on our mobile destination one address. So it was a mobile cluster. It's checking our mobile microservices is whether active or not. So we set a one API called Ally. So if that API provides the response code of 200, So it will consider that microservices in active state. If the microservice is down, it will change the status here. You can see in a healthy, it will change that to the unhealthy state. So if you are planning to use load balancing policies, then you may have a multiple destinations here. You have to add a multiple destinations. In program.cs in a reverse proxy, you have to make changes here. Give a policy, like policy dot. You can give a load balancing. So we have to make this configuration if you are having a multiple instance. So in our case, we don't have this. So we can just remove it. So if you guys have any doubt queries, please let me know.